Do you think a far lefty can win a national election in this day and age? A presidential election. Do you think that could
A
happen?
far left, you mean like AOC?
Yes. I'm just whether it's what you said about Newsom, whether it's an AOC. I mean, do you think somebody like that can win a general election for the presidency of the United States in this day and age? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. To me, the Democratic Party is a ghost brand. You know what a ghost brand is? It's like Sears or,
Okay.
General Electric. It's still a company, Abercrombie and Fitch, but they've really fallen on hard times.
Yeah.
But they've been around for a long time. So there is value it's an asset, right? Because there are still people who know of the company, and if you could have somebody take it over, who's not sentimental about that company and relaunch it, rebrand it, but it would have to be somebody who is unapologetic about calling them out. People have lost faith in the Democratic Party for very good reasons.
So Maher lit it up on Stephen A. Smith's show, and it was pure fire. The sharp-tongued comedian torched the woke mob, Hollywood, and the Democrats for refusing to step out of their echo chamber and face reality. Maher came out swinging, hammering the DNC for what he sees as glaring weaknesses in their desperate push to take back the White House. Let's break it down.
Right now, I got to get to my next guest. Oh, he's an actor, a comedian, a producer, a writer, and host of the hit HBO political talk show, Real Time with Bill Maher. The one and only Bill Maher is with me right now. What's going on, Big Time? How are you, sir? How's everything?
I'm not an actor.
Well,
Don't ever call me an actor.
I apologize.
I'm the opposite of an actor, like you. Actors are avoiding the truth and playing parts. We're real and telling what's real.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate I correct myself. Thank you for the reminder.
Bill Maher kicks things off by torching Hollywood, slamming the entertainment elites for burying their heads in the sand and refusing to face reality. But he doesn't stop there. Politicians take a beating, too. Maher rips them for sleepwalking through their jobs, acting more like performers than leaders, and dodging the truth the American people deserve to hear. No passes, no sugarcoating. He's calling it exactly as he sees it. And here's the sting. Once you realize which political party is in his sights, the heat really sets in. But before we get there, let's hear how he responded when Stephen A. Smith pressed him on Jimmy Kimmel's return to late-night TV.
He insulted MAGA. That's different. And he didn't lie. He said what he thought was true, which I disagreed with. I mean, I gave my spiel about it on the show last week, and it was basically saying something very different than what Jimmy said. I don't think he got it right. I think he's, quite frankly, in his liberal bubble, which is why, let's be real, those shows are struggling, is because they, I think, arrogantly dismiss half the country. They don't speak to them, let alone for them.
If you are enjoying this takedown, please hit that subscribe button. This is exactly why so many people can't stand Bill Maher, because unlike his late night pals, he isn't afraid to torch his own side. Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel and his liberal circle are more than comfortable in their cushy echo chamber, surrounded by people who nod along to every word. Over 95% of their guests are diehard liberals recycling the same talking points, while conservatives are either shut out completely or swapped with watered-down Republicans who won't dare rock the boat. And here's the kicker. That strategy is backfiring. Their shows are bleeding relevance after alienating half the country and silencing the very voices that could have kept things raw, real, and unpredictable.
And that's a problem. And in the liberal bubble, it had to be someone who was also MAGA, who shot a MAGA guy. My piece was just about how you can't even try to make sense politically of a lot of these people who committed these political atrocities, because they're just crazy, and it's. I wish it was politics. That would make it a lot easier. It's actually nihilism. They don't believe in anything.
Maher hits the nail on the head when he exposes what liberals really think. In their world, conservatives are painted as backward, ignorant simpletons with no respect for human life. To them, MAGA supporters are nothing but blind zealots, incapable of common sense, impossible to reason with, and unworthy of serious debate. That smug caricature is the crutch they cling to, and it's exactly why Jimmy Kimmel didn't hesitate to twist the story and slap the MAGA label on the culprit. It wasn't about facts or evidence. It was about feeding the liberal script that conservatives are dangerous, irrational, and always guilty. Maher shredded that hypocrisy with ruthless clarity.
They're all over the map politically. They just want you to hurt like I do. And that's where that was. Jimmy had a different take. He's allowed to have a different take. He's allowed to be wrong. So, you know, some of this stuff gets put out there and then it becomes like the narrative. He lied. He didn't lie. His take was just wrong, in my view. And he didn't insult the person that they were worried about getting insulted. And on that score, yes, I mean, I've been always clear about what I think about it. There's no quarter for people who forgive any kind of political violence. Once you start with, yeah, but you know, what he said was terrible. I don't care. Irrelevant if you think whatever you think of it. We don't shoot each other in this country.
Maher doubles down on one of his core principles, freedom of speech, and he makes it crystal clear. No one should ever be silenced, canceled, or worse, erased simply for holding a different opinion. That's not what America stands for. This country was built on open debate, the free exchange of ideas, and the right to challenge one another without fear. We don't burn people at the stake for disagreeing. We sit down, we argue, and we push back with facts, logic, and common sense. Maher reminds us that real democracy doesn't thrive on conformity. It thrives on the clash of competing views, and if we lose that, we lose the essence of America itself.
How did you feel about Trump's reaction to Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off the air? And his reaction, the first words that came out of Trump's mouth is that it was the left. And obviously when Jimmy Kimmel said what he said, Trump wanted him pulled off the air, even though it was the FCC chairman that really went about the business of making threats along those lines. What were your thoughts about all of that?
Unsurprised. I mean, come on, Donald Trump's been on the stage a long time. You always know he's going to go 100 miles an hour in that direction. You know, he is an actor who commits to the part. Man, does he talk about actors, as long as we're on that.
That's right.
I don't think Trump's an actor at all. I think he's the real deal. With him, there's no mask, no hidden script, no staged performance designed to fool the crowd. What you see is what you get, and that raw authenticity is exactly why his supporters rally so fiercely behind him. He doesn't pretend to be something he's not, and he couldn't care less about impressing the cocktail circuit in DC or Hollywood. Now compare that to the phonies on the left. Career politicians and media darlings who thrive on pretense, polished theatrics, and empty pandering. They put on carefully crafted shows, always calculating for applause, but never daring to stand for truth. Maher's point lands hard. Trump may not be perfect, but at least he's real. And in today's political circus, authenticity is a rare commodity. Meanwhile, the left is suddenly screaming about free speech.
But I would ask you this, when you look at Trump and some of the things that he says, what are you more concerned about in this day and age, Bill? Is it how the right feeds off of what he says, or is it how the left reacts to what he says? What has you more concerned at this particular moment in time as we just purview the landscape, look at our country and the state of affairs that's going on around here?
Well, I love it that you always, like what you were just saying before I came on about free speech, and you said, well, you know, let's be honest, the left sort of courted this a little bit because they weren't exactly champions of free speech. So you always have to look at that. I mean, I know that the woke people don't like it that I do that.
But let's be honest, it's only because they're out of power and no longer control the narrative. When they held the reins, they had no problem silencing voices, censoring dissent, and crushing debate. Now they're terrified the current government might give them a taste of their own medicine. Remember how aggressively they leaned on social media platforms to filter out stories that didn't match their agenda. Inconvenient truths were slapped with the misinformation label and buried. And who could forget their obsession with cancel culture? Going after anyone bold enough to challenge their orthodoxy. Authors, comedians, journalists, even everyday citizens, they all became targets. But now that the shoe's on the other foot, suddenly they've rediscovered their love for free speech. The hypocrisy couldn't be louder.
To me, the Democratic Party is a ghost brand. You know what a ghost brand is? It's like Sears or, you know, General Electric. You know, it's still a company, Abercrombie and Fitch, but they've really fallen on hard times.
Yeah.
But they've been around for a long time. So there is value in, it's an asset, right? Because there are still people who know of the company, and if you could have somebody take it over who's not sentimental about that company and, you know, relaunch it, rebrand it, But it would have to be somebody who is unapologetic about calling them out. People have lost faith in the Democratic Party for very good reasons.
Bill is absolutely right. The Democratic Party today is nothing more than a ghost party. On the surface, it's still moving, still pretending to be alive, but inside, it's hollow, an empty shell with no substance. There's nothing inspiring left, nothing that draws people in. No clear leader has emerged to unite the base. No bold message cuts through the noise, and no fresh policies spark the imagination of everyday Americans. Instead, it clings to tired slogans and recycles the same old playbook that's already failed. The party doesn't look like a movement anymore. It looks like a lifeless organization running on fumes. Even its so-called stars can't generate excitement or provide direction. And as Maher warns, unless they snap out of this zombie-like trance, Democrats aren't just risking irrelevance, they're marching straight toward extinction.
But you also have faith in California Governor Gavin Newsom, did you not?
I'd love him as a candidate. Yes, I mean, you're right. He's not exactly what I'm describing now.
Right.
I think he'd be a great candidate. He has shown in recent months the ability also to move to the center. He would have to do it a lot more. But as a candidate, he looks great. Great speaker, very forceful, can be mean, which is really important, and he can do it. He also has the backing, or certainly should, of where the energy is in the Democratic Party, the far left, because he's been out front on a lot of very liberal issues, which I think is great. Gay marriage here in California and stuff like that, pollution, all sorts of stuff that we believe in. But he does have a long trail to lose the baggage of governor of the most liberal state in the country. I tell him face to face, I've said it on the show, he went too far left for me often.
And here's where Maher comes off a bit disingenuous. And honestly, who can blame him? We all carry biases, and his is crystal clear. Gavin Newsom. Maher has a soft spot for the California governor. No question about it. He admires him, defends him, even roots for him. But when it comes to endorsing Newsom for president right now, Maher just can't do it, and that speaks volumes. Why? Because Newsom isn't just any Democrat. He's part of the very system that dragged down the DNC's momentum. Add to that his shaky record in California, rising homelessness, sky-high taxes, businesses fleeing, and suddenly his shine looks more like tarnish. So even Gavin Newsom's loudest cheerleader can't convince himself he's the man to revive a dying Democratic Party, at least not now. And if Maher won't buy in, why should anyone else?
Do you think a far lefty can win a national election in this day and age? A presidential election. Do you think that could happen?
A far left, you mean like AOC?
Yes. I'm just whether it's what you said about Newsom, whether it's an AOC. I mean, do you think somebody like that can win a general election for the presidency of the United States in this day and age? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I mean, that's, anything is possible, and possibly it would excite a certain group of people who have not voted. What if 80% of Gen Z voted? Could then a Mondami-like candidate win? I guess so. But I'm not expecting that to happen, and I don't think it's the smart bet for the Democrats.
Yes, AOC and Zoran Manny might fire up Gen Z voters, but to many Americans they come across as little more than loud voices pushing pie-in-the-sky ideas that don't translate into real solutions. Sure, they flood social media and grab headlines, but that doesn't mean they have the political muscle to win at the ballot box. On this point, Maher is absolutely right. The far-left figures may be vocal, even popular in their own circles, but they can't carry national elections for the Democrats. Popularity isn't the same as electability. If last year's elections proved anything, it's that screaming the loudest or trending on TikTok won't put you in the White House. What wins elections is a grounded message that speaks to a broad range of voters, and the far left simply doesn't have it.
There was an article in the Atlantic this week about, the Democratic leadership keeps saying the Democrats should change course, away from the far left, but they're not doing it.
Right.
They should all read that article.
And to me, if they're not doing it, they're not paying attention to what's going to win. They just want to vent. I'm listening to Jasmine Crockett. I'm like, that verbiage ain't going to work. AOC could win the Senate seat and take it from Chuck Schumer in New York City, but that's not going to win a general election. Zohran Mamdani might win the mayor's seat in New York City, and Trump and his acolytes may be scared to death that it's going to permeate throughout the country because of what happened in Minnesota, what's happening in New York City, what potentially could happen in California. But that's not the entire country. So for me, I'm very, very worried about the left because you should be focusing on trying to win the midterms, and I don't see that happening.
The left has hit a breaking point, and if they want any chance of winning another general election, they must break away from the far left fringe. Clinging to the AOC-style brand of politics might energize activists and online followers, but it alienates the middle of the country, the very voters they need for real victories. If Democrats hope to survive, they have to step out of their ideological bubble and start engaging with centrists, and even those on the right. Politics is about building coalitions, not echo chambers. By locking themselves into progressive purity tests, they're only sealing their own downfall. To stay relevant, Democrats must reconnect with everyday Americans, address their concerns, and prove they can govern with pragmatism, not just ideology. Otherwise, they'll keep losing ground to opponents who know how to speak to the majority. At the end of the day, Maher's takedown is a brutal wake-up call for Democrats. Leaderless, stuck in a bubble, and weighed down by far-left theatrics that can't win elections, the so-called Ghost Party drifts closer to extinction. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.